pretended to be people on the internet, and then I wrote their content and grew their social media.
That's Dakota Robertson. In his 20s, he became one of the top Twitter ghostwriters in the world, making 6 figures a year writing tweets for clients.
Yeah, my first client was $3K a month, and then we landed a client a week after for $5K a month, and then we landed another client for $3K a month a week after that. It was crazy.
Now he's built a brand of his own, racking up 263,000 Twitter followers, 171,000 Instagram followers, and 56,000 LinkedIn followers. In today's episode, he's going to show you exactly what's working right now on social media, including the 3 types of content everyone should be posting, no matter their niche.
So when you have all 3 together, it just creates this synergistic effect where people know and trust you.
A secret growth tactic influencers don't always like to talk about.
So this is taboo to talk about with creators, but you can pay for engagement on social media.
Legitimate ways to build your following that cost absolutely nothing.
You can go hard mode like I did at the start and just comment like a madman.
An equation Dakota rarely talks about that helps him get attention,
But the way I break down hooks is like a little equation.
as well as how to become a ghostwriter and make megabucks writing on Twitter.
And so I show people how to write, create content, grow their social media, and all the business side of stuff like sales, marketing to monetize that, and specialize in ghostwriting because that's what I've done.
And then things went a little off the rails.
I would do dance class, tap dance, hip hop, jazz, and then ballet for 1 year.
With kites and everything.
Yeah, it was traumatized.
There are going to be pictures are going to surface.
There are pictures.
Let's jump in. You started out as a ghostwriter for other people on Twitter, is that right?
Yeah. So I pretended to be people on the internet,
Uh-huh.
and then I wrote their content and grew their social media. 4 years ago, I was working minimum wage at Domino's and working until 3 a.m. and then taking college courses. And now I travel the world and do what I want and work on what I want. So when I started ghostwriting and growing people's social media, I sent a few DMs to people to try to get them as clients, but pretty much all my clients came from inbound. So they hit me up, and that came from creating content. They would go to my website like, oh, he grows social media accounts, I want to work with him.
What about dating? Has it affected your dating life at all?
Yeah, it has. It's like the clients thing. It's like you get inbound
Uh-huh.
instead of sending outbound. It's a status thing. In my opinion, I think women are attracted to status because it's a sign that you could be a good provider. So if you're like doing cool stuff, interesting stuff, you got all these followers, engagement, yeah, it's going to affect your dating life because your status is raised.
You got girls
I hate
sliding
Tinder.
into your DMs. No.
Sometimes. I got a lot of
Sometimes.
gay men sliding into my DMs
It's a lot
more
of
than
gay men.
anything.
It's the ballerina outfits.
It must be. And the dance
the-
moves.
Yeah.
My white boy dance moves.
So, status is a big thing that almost everybody wants, but no one wants to admit wanting. When you worked a lot with clients, what were they looking for? Was it status? Was it money?
Yeah, it
What
was
was it?
status. My primary offer is followers. I wasn't focused on getting people leads, stuff like that, because at that time I wasn't really confident in my ability to do it. Getting people leads with social media, they have to have a good offer to promote in the first place. They have to have their marketing dialed in, and I can't write content that converts. So I was like, I'll just get them followers. But the people that came to work with me, they're very wealthy people. A lot of them didn't have anything to sell. They just wanted to grow their social media just because. You think about rich people or wealthy people, they have all the money, they have everything. What don't they have? They just want more status.
So, as a ghostwriter, you were selling a following and delivering status. I heard in one of your other interviews, I think it was you started out making $3,000 a month working with a client.
Yeah, my first client was $3K a month. And then we landed a client a week after for $5K a month. And then we landed another client for $3K a month a week after that. It was crazy.
And this started when you had a relatively small number of followers, too. Was it like 5,000 followers or?
Yeah, it was
something
like,
along those lines?
it was around like 4,000 to 6,000 followers.
So I imagine as your follower count increased, you were able to charge higher and higher prices.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. Like what I would do is, okay, I landed a client for $3K a month. Let's see if I can charge $5K.
The secret, though, is having something that people really want.
Well, what's interesting too is if you charge too low of a price, people won't want to work with you because they're like, oh, it's cheap. Like wealthy people, they don't want the cheapest. They want the premium writers. They want someone that can get the job done. And they associate high price with this person knows what they're talking about, or they know what they're doing. And it's also, you can get clients better results because you can put more money into fulfillment, and then the client's happy, you're happy, everyone wins.
So out of the clients you worked with, what were some of the factors that influenced Crew took off like a rocket, or Crew was maybe really difficult to grow the following?
I view social media through a lens of market demand. There's less market demand for content for SEO, for example, than there is for productivity. Now, why is that? SEO is relevant to a specific group of people, like business owners, bloggers. There's fewer of those people. Productivity is applicable to everybody. So I've worked with people in the SEO space, VC founders for like tech companies, and I just like quickly found out that's the content I don't enjoy writing, and it's very hard to grow because there just isn't that much market demand. So I focus more on productivity, fitness, general business, broad business topics, stuff like that. That worked way better because it appealed to a wider audience. You can definitely make most topics work. You just have to frame it correctly. Like if I was doing content on VCs, I would look at, okay, who are the most famous VCs and how can I do like breakdowns on their best tips or something that's like top of mind for a lot of people that they can relate to. If ChatGPT is trending, then I would talk about ChatGPT somehow and relate it to VC funding or prompts to like help you do something that's related to VC funding. You can niche down too much depending on your goal. So for example, when I started growing my Twitter 3.5 years ago, I started very broad and I was talking about philosophy, working out, finance, anything that was top of mind for me. And I just went super broad. And I only grew to 750 followers in 3 months. And I was posting 5 times a day, every day, spending hours on content. And then I came across an account that was centered around copywriting, and he grew to 0 to 1,000 followers in 30 days. I was like, oh, that guy knows something I don't. So I hopped on a call with him, and he said he was in the same position as me a year ago, where he's posting broad self-improvement advice, and he barely grew. So he just gave up, studied copywriting, decided to come back, teach what he was learning on social media. And that's when it really clicked for me. Oh, he niched down, he provided value by solving people's problems around a specific topic, made people more money by teaching copywriting tips, and people valued that, so they followed him. And so it was like, oh, maybe I should do something like that. Niche down to a skill that solves people's pain points or gets them to a desired outcome, give actionable advice on what I'm learning, teach people a few steps behind me. And lo and behold, I did that, and I started growing my account. I grew to like 1,000 followers in 40 days. I think niche down, don't hyper niche down, and solve people's pain points. Like that's the main thing. At the start, no one knows, likes, or trusts you really. You're starting from zero. Why can Gary Vee post believe in yourself and gets 10,000 likes, and then Joe Schmo 69 posts the same thing and it gets 0 likes? It's because people know and trust Gary Vee, and people don't know and trust Joe Blow. The reason why people know and trust Gary Vee is because he's provided an immense amount of value to people at the start. Like he started with Wine Library TV, provided value with wine tips. So he started very niche, and then he moved on to another topic, growing on social media, and he raised his status on there, and then he went more broad with like business in general, and did the same thing. So the way I view growing a personal brand is your core of your personal brand at the start is delivering value. So what problems do you solve, and what desires do you help people achieve? And that's like the focus of your account, because that's what's going to raise your authority, raise your competence, and raise your status. But it's not where you just post that. You talk about, you know, your dance class and the trauma that brought on to you as a kid. I made a framework for this called the GAP framework. So growth content would be touching on trending topics, trending events, stuff that's top of mind for people. So the presidential elections are coming up. That's going to be a hot topic. Say if I'm a fitness coach and I want to get more growth, get more people to know me, I would create content somehow around the presidential elections and related it back to fitness in my brand. So here's Donald Trump's workout routine, how he looks so sexy. Obviously not the best example, but or ChatGPT when that's trending. How can I use ChatGPT related to fitness? Here are 5 prompts you can use ChatGPT to create a meal plan. Here's how to create a workout plan with ChatGPT. So I'm leveraging what's top of mind for people because they're searching for it. They're seeing it trending on social media. The algorithm's pushing it. And then I'm relating it back to my account. So that's growth content. And then you have authority content. So that's the main value you provide. Pain points you solve, desired outcomes you help people achieve. And the skill you have is the mechanism for that. So you've built businesses and you've been very successful at that. Okay, people want to do that. They want to make money. What can you teach them to help them achieve that? So that'd be your authority content. That gets people to trust you, trust that you're competent, you know what you're talking about. And then you have personal content, which is the P in the GAP framework. And that's the stuff that gets people to like you. So that's like you sharing your stories about dating, sharing stories about X, Y, or Z. And that builds connection with you as a person. So when you have all 3 together, it just creates this synergistic effect where people know and trust you.
So just to summarize or to paraphrase what you said, so it's GAP. G is growth content. That's mostly about trending topics and connecting what you do to trending topics. A is for authority, and that's your actionable advice that ideally solves a problem. And then P is your personal content, where you let people into your personality, who you are as a person, you connect with the reader. Is that right?
100%. Yeah, okay. Spot on.
Behind that, though, is you start with the middle of the gap, it sounds like. You start with the A, the authority and the problem you're solving.
Yeah, like for my account and the accounts I've grown, we center the accounts around what value are you providing. So the authority, yes.
Okay. So one way to say that is what value are you providing? Another way is what problem are you solving? Another one is what are you helping people achieve? It's all the same thing. It's how are you helping people?
Exactly. Yeah. How are you moving them toward a transformation?
And then you build outward from there into your G and your P. So in my case, you mentioned I could talk about building an online business. In particular, courses are something I'm experienced with. But also, right now, I could maybe be talking about Bitcoin because that's trending and how that applies, something along those lines.
100%. Yeah, that's perfect. I also think about the reach. So this is taboo to talk about with creators, but you can pay for engagement on social media. So I got another friend here who judges me about it. So Twitter, you can pay for retweets on your posts and buy bigger accounts and get extra exposure. Or you can have an engagement group where you send your posts to other people and they'll engage with it and you engage on theirs and that'll get more exposure to your posts. Same's true for LinkedIn, for Instagram, those different platforms. But if you have a really good post and you have a lot of reach where you're paying for a bunch of reach or you're engaging with other people and they're engaging on your stuff, then it's going to maximize the virality potential of that exploding on social media. It's like a billboard in front of a high traffic highway. Like I remember there's this productivity person who grew 60,000 followers in 30 days. Originally it was like, oh, I'll get you to 10,000 followers in 90 days. Did that in 2 days because I just spent so much money on retweets.
What's your take on running ads to organic content versus paying for shout outs, paying for retweets, stuff like that?
I've never ran ads to any content, but the reason why I like doing retweets is because I want people to organically decide to engage with it or organically decide to follow me. There's people that buy shout outs on Instagram, so they'll pay for shout outs from these big accounts and then they'll be like, follow this person. And yes, we'll get you a ton of followers, but those people aren't following you because they enjoy your content. But let's say I pay a big creator to share my Instagram post to their story and they don't have any prompts to follow me or anything like that. They're just putting it in front of people. If the person looking at it's interested in it, they're going to engage and they're follow me if they like my stuff. So I like that route a lot for that reason. Ads, you can probably target it hyper specific, so I can't really compare it to that. But yeah, from my experience, I just find doing that works really well for getting eyeballs in your stuff.
I'll have to try paying for retweets and see how it compares. I've been spending $15 a day to advertise 2 tweets, and it gets me about 250 followers a week, and that's purely just advertising the tweet. It would be interesting to see how the ROI compares of doing a paid shout out for those same tweets and see which one's actually cheaper.
Do you find your engagement has been rising over time alongside that as well?
Yeah, it has. When I first started advertising, which was, I don't know, 8 weeks ago, I was getting about 1,000 average views on a post, and now it's up to over 2,000 average views on the post, just on the ads.
Damn, I'm gonna have to try that.
I had never seen anyone do it, so I figured, hey, $15 a day, no big deal. Let me just see what happens. And I just advertise to US, UK, places like that.
Yeah,
and that's where those results have come from. I'm sure it would be even cheaper if I included Africa, India, Pakistan, Philippines, but I didn't do that.
That's just vanity metrics at that point. It's like a lot of them just can't afford your services, or if you're like charging like $10,000 or whatever.
So as far as increasing reach, those are 2 ways of doing it. Are those the primary 2 ways, or are there other ways that you use too?
Yes, you can go hard mode like I did at the start and just comment like a madman. I commented like 50 times a day at the start to grow from like 0 to 1,000 followers. If you're commenting on big creators' posts, what you're doing is you're forming relationships with people. So a lot of them will follow you back. A lot of them will engage back with your stuff. Also, if you leave an insightful comment on someone's post, so let's say a big creator posts at 8 a.m. and you comment at 8:01 a.m., think about all the traffic that's about to come to that post. And if they see your comment and it's insightful, people will like it and it'll go to the top of the comments, which is going to drive more traffic. So a lot of those people will click on your profile if you left an insightful comment or a personal story that relates to what the original post says. And then you drive traffic to your profile that way. So that's the organic way.
I guess if you're broke, it isn't a bad idea. But let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're making $200K a year. I imagine you're not going to want to do that just because your time is so valuable. If you're in that place, the opposite place where you have money but not time, what would you advise to those people?
You're trading money to save time. You're just playing a different game. You're either trading time or you're trading money. What do you value more? At the start, it's like, yeah, you're probably going to have to trade time like I did. I think you should still comment under accounts. I don't think you have to do it like a madman, like 50 times a day, like maybe 5 to 10. I would prioritize commenting under accounts that I vibe with, that had the audience I wanted, and that had a lot of social proof in the space. Because what that does is it forms a relationship with people, and it also gets exposure to your account. But at the end of the day, if you form a relationship with somebody and they have a lot of credibility in the space and they follow you, that's now an endorsement and you have social proof. Because if I go to someone's profile and I see 500 people out of 800 people that I follow this person, it's like just instant status. Viewing it through the lens of, I'm commenting to get endorsements, not just for that reason. That might be a bit psychopathic, but you're forming relationships with people. If they follow you, that's more status for you as well. More endorsements, which equals to more conversions, because if a bunch of big influencers follow you, then status. So I would say still comment. Don't have to comment as much, but yeah, it's way more time efficient to just pay for engagement from accounts that have a quality following and have the target audience that you want.
And right now you teach social ghostwriters. So across your students, what are the differences between the ones who are super successful and the ones who struggle?
The biggest thing is taking action. The people that don't see results, it's like, one, they're like not showing up to the calls, they're not asking for help, they're not going through the curriculum, even if they go through the curriculum, they're not actually posting content. And I get it. If you're going from traditional path to trying to create content and learn all this business stuff, it could be overwhelming, especially if you got kids. And so I think it's just people get in their heads and they got a fear of rejection, like what people say about their content. So that prevents them from actually going through and doing stuff. The people that actually make it work are the people that make it a priority in their life, and they don't use time as an excuse. Man, even when I had full-time college classes and I was working graveyard shifts at Domino's, I still made time to post 5 times a day on Twitter, comment, go through courses. I made it a priority in my life. And I think just a lot of people, they're just comfortable in life and they don't actually want it that bad. And there's nothing wrong with that. Me personally, I absolutely hated working a job, and I was in such a pain point where I was like, there's no way I can like work a job for the rest of my life. It's just, I can't do it. That was my motivator to just learn it, obsess over content and business and make it work no matter what. Like, it wasn't a possibility in my mind to not make it work. Once I was like, oh, I like this, I'm just going to keep doing it until something works.
Yeah, when I was getting started, I worked for a huge blog called Copyblogger. It was like 35 million readers. And when I started working there, I asked my boss, the founder, Brian Clark, what can I do to become a better writer? And he said, write 1,000 words a day every day. And he said, I told the same thing to everyone, but almost no one does it. And what I did is I started writing 2,000 words a day. Even Christmas morning, my family got really mad at me because I insisted on writing my 2,000 words before I would go in and open presents. And I think a lot of people don't realize that kind of commitment is what's required if you want to get really good at something like this.
Yeah, 100%. It's the same with going to the gym too. It's like people want to get a 6-pack overnight, and then they look at the New Year's resolutioners as they're finished by the end of January. They just realize, oh shit, this is a lot of work, and I want to eat that pizza and the cookies. Okay, that's okay. You just don't want it bad enough. I'm not saying it's like condescending. It's like you just value cookies and pizza more than the 6-pack, and that's okay. People have different priorities. You just took that to another level. You're like, F it, I'm gonna do double that. That's awesome.
Yeah, back then the big thing was headlines, and I wrote over 300,000 headlines my first year. And people are like, how did you get so good at headlines? Wrote over 300,000 headlines. Like, that's the only secret.
Might learn a thing or two.
Yep. Nowadays, I imagine the equivalent would be a hook in the social post. I've never heard you talk about hooks, by the way. Is that intentional? Accidental? Or what's your take on social media hooks?
Yeah, I think they're the most important part of social media. But yeah, now that I think of it, I don't really write about it much. But the way I break down hooks is like a little equation. I got inspiration from Alex Hormozi's value equation from his book, $100 Million Offers. How can I maximize the benefit, the relevance, and the reach, and minimize the perceived effort? And I'll break down each of those. The main benefit someone gets out of the hook. 5 tips to grow your following on social media. It's okay, yeah, it's decent. There's like 5 tips to grow a $10,000 a month personal brand. So that's probably more appealing to people because more people want to make money. So like, how do we maximize the benefit? And then there's the relevance. If I'm trying to grow a following of writers, I'm going to try to think, okay, what are the benefits that they want? What's relevant to them? So doing stuff like that, or changing the language where you call writers out. If you're a writer, read this. And then the bottom, perceived effort. Is this easy to read and understand? Is the language simple? Are the sentences not too long? And is the concept easy to understand? If you're talking about multi-dimensional space travel using neurocircuitry, I'm making up shit now. That's gonna be hard for people to understand. So we want to make it as frictionless as possible when it comes to the language you're using, the concepts you're using, and make it seem achievable for the person. If I tell somebody, I'll give you $1 million if you run up Mount Everest in 20 seconds, If they don't think they can do it, sure, the benefit and the relevance is super high, but they don't think they can do it. They're not even going to try. So it's important to reduce that friction there.
One of the examples I've seen in your tweets is like 50 sentences that can massive benefit. And the way that works is you combine a massive benefit sentences that are really simple. It's easy. You just have to use these sentences. Mm-hmm. That is what makes it take off.
Yeah, 100%. The more perceived effort you add, then the fewer people will read it. So the reason why those 27 sentences that'll make you more money than a 4-year college degree type stuff worked was because it was one sentence each line. So in each sentence, I was trying to deliver as much value as possible. And so it's just really easy to read a sentence. Oh, that was really good. And read the next one. Mm-hmm. And it just creates this feedback loop where people are engaging on with all those posts. And then it's driving more engagement to the overall thread. And then that's why those would go viral. That's why those started trending.
Mm-hmm. So I guess there are two categories of people. One are people who have great content, they just don't have reach. And then there's another group of people who doesn't even have great content. Maybe they just don't know how. Like someone who just hasn't written very much. Maybe they have an engineering job and they've become massively successful because of what they do. What would you recommend to someone like that who doesn't have the skills? Is that where maybe hiring a ghostwriter makes sense?
If you write your own content and you get good at that, there's no ghostwriter that can really compare to that. If you learn how to write your own content and you do that long term and you actually become better and better, it's like your stories are going to come from the original source, your experiences, all of that's going to come from the original source, and it's just going to, I think, pay off the best in the long term. And even if you want to outsource it later, you understand what makes for good content. Mm-hmm. A lot of these people don't know what makes for good content, so they just hire a crappy ghostwriter and then they're just not growing their account. It's like if you don't know how to do something, you're not going to be able to spot how to improve something or whether something's good or bad or not. So I think learning it yourself is like the best option. If you're prioritizing business and building that or something else in life, hire a ghostwriter 100%. Like you probably get 90 something percent there by hiring a ghostwriter. But if you really want to do this, you enjoy doing it, just learn it yourself. It'll take time, but it's worth it.
So it sounds like you're saying it's a skill worth building. And there are two different possible outcomes. One is you always do it yourself because you enjoy it. The other possible outcome is that teaches you what good looks like. And so then you can more effectively work with a ghostwriter in the future.
I think the best way to do is hire a coach or consultant or something, someone to do it with you and give you feedback. Because then the feedback loops are going to be a lot shorter. And then you just get better faster. That's what I did the whole time. I hired Dan Coe at the start and I learned content creation from him, personal branding from him. And then whenever I had a deficit in some place, a skill I need to learn like sales or marketing, copywriting, I would just hire somebody that's accumulated all that knowledge and specialized in that. And then they would just teach me and fast track that. Mm-hmm. And then that would help me grow faster, make more money, which I could use to invest in more mentorships and coaching, and then just improves me overall. So yeah, just super high ROI, at least for me. Definitely gotten burned a couple times with some gurus, but name of the game.
Learning shortcuts. It's interesting. I've heard Alex Hormozi talk about both of those things. Hire someone who knows what they're doing to shorten your learning time. And also the idea of learning what good looks like. Like I know that Alex Hormozi doesn't do all of his social content anymore, but he did it all for long enough to learn what good looks like as well. And he's still actively involved in the process. So someone who does have good content, but just no reach, is the idea. Then you just need to start paying for reach until things start taking off.
You need to do one of the three. Like you don't have to pay for reach by any means. You either start commenting a lot more, you pay for reach, or you form an engagement group. I think engagement groups are great. That's what I did early on. Was I found 5 to 10 people I vibed with that had content that I liked and that was like similar enough to mine. And what I did was I hit them up in the DMs. Hey, I see you're trying to grow. We're around similar account size. I'm putting together a group of people that are actually serious about growing their following on this platform. One, I love your content. Wondering if you would want to or be open to joining this group. We would swap engagement once a day, just engage with each other's stuff and help each other grow. So that's what I did. And it helped us grow a lot faster because as one of us grew, so did our whole network. Because if Joe Blow's got 10,000 followers and I got 5,000, so he can help me grow faster. And then once I grow more people, I can help him. So it just works together as everyone grows. So I'd highly recommend forming an engagement group with people and just become friends with them. It's going to help your journey the whole way.
Probably people of similar size on similar topics.
Yeah. If you have 500 followers and you're trying to get someone with 20,000 followers, it's just, okay, it's not going to work that well. But yeah, making incentives aligned is crucial.
Okay. And as far as getting coaching, where can someone find coaching these days?
I find the best coaches or mentors are the people that actually their free content's very valuable and very insightful. And if their free content can help you do stuff, I find it's a very good signal to you that their paid stuff can also do the same. Making sure the person you want to hire has actually done what you want to do, and making sure they have case studies and they've shown competence. Because I've gotten burned where I just didn't check with one guy. I lost like 25K and I found out he's very incompetent in what he does. Yeah, it's brutal. He was a friend too, which is fucked up. But yeah, just making sure to vet the people, because it's unfortunate, there's a lot of scammy gurus out there that pretend like they know what they're talking about, and you can get effed over pretty good.
So tell me a little bit more about Growth Ghosts. Who is that for?
That's for people that want to grow and monetize their social media. And so I show people how to write, create content, grow their social media, and all the business side of stuff like sales, marketing, to monetize that. And specialize in ghostwriting because that's what I've done. I've got experience with. But if you want to monetize your coaching program, I'll help you do that as well. But I basically show people how to start and scale their personal brand and make money with it and with ghostwriting. So it's a cohort. I open up every 4-5 months. And then, basically very hands-on program. We got curriculum, community, coaching, and give them all the tools they need to kick ass, take names.
What about feedback on content for those feedback loops? Is that something you do?
Right now we have 3 live calls a week. So 2 Q&A calls. One's with me, one's with a coach in the program, Talon, who was a former student. And then we have 1 live lesson where I go over the lesson that week. But we have those calls. We give feedback on people's posts. Also our community. We have a client success manager, myself and the other coach, Talon, who give feedback on the posts inside there. They can book one-on-one calls with myself or Talon or the client success manager. Because if you're working with people that are beginners, or they're trying to improve, you need to give them feedback. And that's why we have all these different ways of doing it, because we want to, again, shorten that feedback loop. We got all those things in place to do that.
When I look back at my career, by far the reason why I took off the fastest is I was lucky enough to work for amazing writers like Brian Clark, Seth Godin, Neil Patel, that actually gave me feedback on every single thing I wrote. And because of that, my growth curve as a writer was just 100 times faster than someone who wouldn't have that feedback on what they were doing. And if anyone's a beginner and wants to learn, to me, that is the most valuable part of any coaching program. Sure, it's cool to have curriculum. Community, it's great, it helps. But the really big thing is, here's where you're screwing up, and you don't realize it because you're blind to something.
And no one can take that away from you too. That's my biggest expense is learning. I think I've spent over $200K in the past 2 years on just coaching and private programs. I could lose everything, and then I could just build it all back up because I've learned all the skills and the knowledge, and it's just like Lego blocks. Okay, put piece here, that there, and you stack it on.
All right, Dakota, this has been a great interview. We learned about all different kinds of things. I still want to see those ballerina photos at some point. We'll put them up on social media. You'll have that TikTok following that you've always wanted.
Yes, finally. Maybe I'll start an OnlyFans and do some cool
There you
dance
go.
moves on there.
Yeah, put the ballerina photos on OnlyFans. You'd be off to the races. Make a ton of money.
Yes, that's my exit plan for retirement.